I will never be a safe space for women to talk about the trash boyfriends that they met. I make that clear right out of the gate, and I love that for me. Let me give you an example. I met a woman who had moved here for a man, and then they broke up, and she moved back to her country, and then she moved back here. And first of all, don't ever move for a man. Another example, I have endless examples of this. Definitely don't move to another country for a man, and definitely don't move to a country where you don't speak that language for a man, unless you have been together for a long time and he has shown no signs of whatever. Either way, it's a huge risk. So sometimes it works out, but usually it does not, and has horrific consequences, life-threatening ones even. But let me get back to this person. I didn't realize how good I've become at this until last night. It was a nice little refresher, because she was telling a group of us about this guy and how he would ignore her, not talk to her, give her the silent treatment, how everything in the apartment was his. It's my apartment, my bed, my this, my that. Like everything she said, we were like, we just let her talk for a while. And then finally mentioned that she went to the bar that he goes to with all his friends, and he told her to never come back. Anyway, finally she was like, but I miss him, but I know it's bad and whatever. I was like, you realize this was an abusive relationship, right? And that you're going through withdrawal, and that this is like an addiction. So instead of like judging yourself and being so hard on yourself, just know that you were physically on some level addicted to this man, like because of all of the cortisol and all of the hormones and all of the stress of living on edge, being around a man like that who terrifies you. You have to walk on eggshells around. That is very stressful. And when you finally get away from that, your body doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know that peace. It's very uncomfortable. And feeling dead inside is totally normal once you're safe and out of that relationship. I just told her said this is what I experienced. So try not to judge yourself too hard. And, I just gave her the normal advice of like, how I did it. I was like, throw yourself into your creativity, keep yourself busy, let yourself mourn too, because it's grief, cry what you need to, but just try not to be so hard on yourself, because every woman who's ever gotten out of a relationship like this usually goes through a period of grief, and your body probably wasn't allowed to really process it until you got out. All the things to try to like help her not feel so alone and everything, and also offer some things that she can do, because she seemed to want that feedback. And then I started to realize she's not listening to anything I said, because then she's like, I miss him, and I think maybe, and I was like, you're not talking to him still, right? She's like, no. And I was like, did you block him? And she was like, no, I don't need to. I took his name out of his phone. I was like, you need to block him. And then she kept being like, well, whatever. And I was like, you block him. Block him on Facebook, block him on your phone, block him on all things, because if you don't block him, you're secretly hoping that he will reach out to you, and you're hoping that if he does, when he reaches out to you, you'll be able to reject him, and you'll be strong enough to do that. But I'm telling you, you probably won't be, because you don't know when that text is coming, if it comes. And if it doesn't come, then you're going to hate yourself for wanting it to come. And if it does come, it's going to come in a moment of weakness, and you're going to respond to it, and then you're going to have to start this whole cycle over again, and it's going to set you so far back. The closure that you needed, the closure that you want, the closure that all of us desperately want is an acknowledgement of what you did, an apology for what you did, and you're never going to get that. And if you do get it, it's going to be in a form of manipulation and trying to get you back so you can continue to do that. The closure that you got, you already got the closure. Him treating you like that was the closure. That closed the door. You don't need closure. Now the closure is on your end to block him so he has no longer access to you. I said all that. And then she was like, well, I don't... As soon as I realized this woman is not listening to anything I'm saying, and I felt myself get really exhausted, I was like, uh-oh, now this is where my codependency kicks in. Me trying to save her from him. The same thing of, her thinking he'll change. Now, if I try to help too much, when someone asks for my help, but then I notice that they are not actually listening to me and aren't going to respect the help that I'm offering, and they just want me to coddle them and tell them that, it's going to be okay. Maybe he will change, or whatever we want people to co-sign the lies that we're telling ourselves. Me continuing to try to help her or say anything, talk about this at all, when she's really not listening to me, because her responses were so clearly not listening to me. She talked about how she doesn't follow him on Facebook anymore, but she'll go sometimes over there and see what time if he's been online and stuff like that. I was like, you need to block him, because it's not about him, it's about her, right? We really need to view relationships a lot of times, for some of us, especially if they're with a narcissist or they're abusive or anything like that, and especially if we have any trauma for our past, but not always, they are like an addiction. And I even said that. I was like, seriously, you really need to think of yourself as like a heroin addict, and you're going through withdrawals. And I was like, but just like an alcoholic, with alcohol, they miss alcohol. They loved what alcohol did for them, but alcohol was actually killing them. It's not good for them, but that doesn't mean some of them don't miss it at first. Some of them actually need serious help to learn how to not miss it. But what you're going through is totally normal, but you can't talk to them. And she was like, yeah, but I was like, oh my God. So I changed the subject, because here I'd been having a really lovely girls' night out, and someone had brought this person, and, I'm always happy to meet new people, and especially someone who's just moved here, doesn't have any friends. It's so hard to meet friends in France. It's so hard to meet friends in general. It's really hard to meet friends in France, because people are really close with their childhood friends. So you really have to either make friends with other immigrants, or friends with, a lot of times, with French people who've moved here from another city, because a lot of people, or at least here, they're like this with literally their childhood friends. And trying to get into a friend group like that, you only get in through marrying. And even then, they're like your in-laws. If they break up with you, they're never talking to you again, probably. Like, I know that's very simplistic, but ask anyone who's ever moved to France. They'll tell you the same thing, right? So I have a lot of French friends, but most of them are not from here, or they're from here, but they traveled a lot, and they really they love meeting new people, and like don't just have that friend group from university or even elementary school or whatever. And so she's having a hard time meeting. Like, we gave her so much advice on what to do and stuff, and it was just like, and here's the thing. One, I don't ever want to be a safe place for someone's delusion. I will not give you advice unless you ask for it. But once you ask for it, you better be ready to hear it. And if you don't like it and you're not listening to it, then I'm going to stop giving it. Because what I do, I can literally feel in my body I felt like a robot. Because, y'all, I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm like so hyper, right? And I started to my throat starts hurt when I know I'm not being listened to. And I start shutting down like a robot. I was like, me need bed now. And I was like, wait, what happened? Because usually when I hang out with friends, even though I talk this much, and even though I'm very hyper and like excited to talk to people, with the right people, I'm energized by them, not tired out. And so I all of a sudden went from feeling energized to exhausted and wanted to go home. And then I was like, wait, I don't need to go home. I just need to stop talking about this dude. This toxic dude who is dominating our conversation right now, because she's not listening to what we're saying. And now she's making us listen to her talk about this terrible, terrible boyfriend who treats her like crap, who she wants back because she's addicted. I know what that's like. I'm not judging, but I'm also not going to be a place for your delusion to be safe. And I really want more women to think that way, because the more time that we let women talking about their toxic exes and how they want to be back with them, or just talking in circles trying to justify it, but maybe this and maybe that, the more these women are making us center toxic men. I don't center men in my life. I don't like women making me center their men in my life. And when they're talking about dudes who they know are bad for them, deep down they know. And now they're wasting my time, and it's not because they actually want help. It's because they want me to enable that. I'm not going to do it, because then I'm going to become resentful, because then I am going to not have energy to give to people, to give to myself, to give to my creativity, to my friends. I'm not going to have that energy because I've just been tired out by talking to a wall. What it reminds me of is when I was a kid and my dad would get drunk, and he would just talk and talk and talk and tell the same story. And he did this all into my adulthood. He would just talk. My dad didn't love me. And then he'd start crying. It was almost like he was reading a script. And I just remember being like, dang, this is literally the same story every night. Does he ever get tired of talking about this? And my sister was like, stop listening. Leave the room. Did you ever notice that I'm never there after a certain hour because he's going to get drunk and say that thing? And then like he's not even talking to you. You're actually enabling him to cry and go on and on about his dad just by being there and bearing witness to it. But in being there, you feel invisible. You feel used. You feel like crap. Now you're pulled into his toxic story. And I was like, oh, so I could just leave? Yeah. I never knew I could just leave. It never occurred to me that I could just remove myself from a situation I don't want to be in, because I had really struggled with boundaries my whole life. Really, whatever. Anyone who knows my story knows that I just unlearning this enabling and the chronic codependency in relationships, but especially to my dad, that it's like I don't have a personhood when I'm around him. It's like whatever I need and what I want doesn't exist anymore. Everything, it hinges on him. And so my sister just giving me permission to leave, to literally get up and leave, and not just be like, oh, I'm not listening to this, because that's going to provoke him. Literally just being, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to go to bed, or I'm going to just literally go to my room and do what I want to do instead of babysitting this man who's drunk, who won't even remember any of this, because that's what she was saying. He's not even going to remember this. He's not listening. But he's also intoxicated. He's literally not going to remember this conversation, so you've wasted your time. And once I started seeing it with that relationship, I started seeing it all the time. That's why I don't talk to really drunk people unless they are just really entertaining me and just saying some funny stuff. Unless I'm really enjoying myself, I will not talk to people who are totally intoxicated, because they're not going to remember. And now I've just said all this stuff that just literally went down the time toilet. I don't get that time back. I don't get that energy back. They're literally not going to remember anything. Now, me being a journalist, I remember everything. So I remember everything they told me, but half of it's nonsense anyway. But this is not a conversation. This is me just like witnessing or watching your monologue. And also, some people, when they're that intoxicated, are mean, right? So I just remove myself from situations when someone is so not there that I don't feel safe. Not like they're going to hurt me. Can you see me? Okay, sorry. Glare. It's a hot day. It's too hot in the house, so I come to the river because we don't have air conditioning. Most people don't in France, so that's another thing. If you thinking of moving to France, you're going to be hot. So anyway, I started seeing in all the ways that anytime I'm talking to somebody who is acting drunk, whether it's drunk on their relationship, drunk on on alcohol, or just so out of their mind, you know, like Anthony is very rarely like intoxicated, but whenever he is, I don't want to talk to him. I just leave him alone. I'm like, bye. I'll see you later, because I don't want to be with whoever this is, right? And so last night I realized this person is they are so in it. Their obsession with this man, they're not hearing me. And anything that I do is going to be a waste of my energy and time. And then I'm going to get bitter and resentful at this person when they're not making me do any of this. They're not making me listen to them. They're not making me give them advice. They're literally not making me do anything. This is on me. So I changed the conversation, and then I got all my energy back, and then I had a great time. I'm not going to talk about this man with you. Not if you still want to be with him after everything you told me about him. I'm not going to talk about anything that cosigns this lie that you are meant to be. Why are you even here? Why did you move back here? Is it to get back at him? Is it to prove something to him? You really want to be here? You don't have any friends here? You don't even speak the language? Are you starting over afresh? Or are you here to stay obsessed with him? You know, like, these are the kinds of things that, like, when someone's not ready to hear it, they're not ready to hear it. Oh my God, this lighting is driving me crazy. And one of the things that my working on myself involves is leaving people where they're at, not making them face something they're not ready to face, because I will tire out in that process. That's why I don't really talk to men about stuff like feminism and stuff unless they are not defensive and if they really honestly want to learn. I am not here to make someone learn something or think about something or question something that they're not ready or willing to question. I'm going to tire out doing that. Same thing with relationships. And the more that I enable women to complain about men to get temporary ease and comfort, but still stay it's like, literally, that's like someone coming to me and being like, you know, alcohol is really causing me a lot of problems. I got drunk last night, and they talk about all this stuff, and then I talk to them about, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, we talk, if they don't want to talk solutions and they literally want to complain about it but don't actually want to stop drinking, I'm not talking about alcohol with you. We can talk about anything else, but not that. Not that. I'll talk about it once or twice, but after that, you know where I stand on this. And so back to my original point, I will not be a safe space for that person when it comes to corroborating your lie, your delusion. And I am here to support and help you when and if you are ready to free yourself of this man. But I will not let you waste my time and your time trying to, figure out some master plan to make him change and become a man that he is not and never was. And the more I let you bring me into this, the sicker you're getting and the more pissed I'm getting. Neither one of us benefit from that. So I highly suggest not enabling your friends who are with partners that are toxic. And this would be different if I was already friends with this person and I knew them, and then I would navigate it a little bit more strategically, but I literally just met this person and they wanted to talk about this, and I'm just like, oh, and then block them, and then whoa. So I know that she will not call me to talk about him, and I love that for me. She may have someone else who will listen and they'll be like, yeah, that sucks. He sucks. He should see that no, screw him. Screw him. We're not talking about him anymore, right? And I am forever grateful to the friends in my life who role modeled that. I didn't realize how toxic that was until friends in my life set that boundary with me, being like, you know what, I'm really sorry. I can't listen to anything else. You know how I feel about this dude. I can't listen to anything else about him. And I remember being like, well, damn. Okay. Like I never knew that was even an option. The same way I never knew that just not listening to my dad talk about how much his dad hated him. Especially being like, really? Because you left us for a younger woman. Like, you left your family and you want to tell me that your dad didn't love you? Okay. And you're drunk right now and parentifying me and making me your therapist? What is this, like cotton blowing around? What is this? Anyway, so it always even hurt my feelings listening to him talk about this when he was so not there for us. And I'm like, why am I doing this? So don't be a safe place for someone's delusion. You're not actually helping them. What really helps them, again, unsolicited advice, I don't suggest that, because that actually can also be codependency and me trying to control them, like telling them what to do. You should do this. No. But if you ask, or you ask me to listen to more about this, and I'm like, no, I don't. And then, you want to talk about it, and I'm like, nah, but why, and I ask questions like, watch out, man. Lies to myself almost got me killed. The women who would not enable me lying to myself about that one particular man, but other men, helped save my life. So, thank you to all of those women who would not let me use them for that emotional labor. Not try to force them to co-sign the lies I'm telling myself, not let me exhaust them, and not let me believe that all this is okay by even letting me entertain these delusions. They don't have time for that. And the more they set those boundaries up for me, the more I really respected them and thought, God, I want to be that kind of friend to somebody. So I don't know who needed to hear this, but I hope it helped. Thank you for being here. Like, share, comment. Join my Patreon, please. If you haven't already, even if you can't afford a tier, I send out notices about things I'm doing. Sometimes random photos of what I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. But thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. And I'm going live on next Sunday, May 22nd, with Therese Lee. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. France time. Et voilà!